minutes to talk about what his rookie season was like, as he certainly had a profound rookie season, and the fact that it was close was just a testament to how good this rookie class was that he beat out.
Yeah, we had Fred Katz on yesterday on our show, senior NBA writer for The Athletic, and he brought up really convincing points about Con Knippel.
Really?
And I thought it was
compelling, if
listen,
not convincing.
It's
Right.
certainly not something that we hear every day in the argument for Con Knippel.
Sure.
Gravity is not necessarily a metric that you see in the box score, but for NBA geeks and nerds like him and probably like myself and some other people out there, it is cool to see that Con didn't have just one of the great perimeter shooting seasons as a rookie,
Right.
but ever. And putting him in a class of Steph Curry and Klay Thompson is insane.
Yes.
So, I mean, he had a great season, and it wasn't really the hard thing with these Rookie of the Year debates and really any awards is you're trying not to pit one guy. You're not trying to diminish the other.
Correct.
Because Con's achievements, VJ Edgecombe for the Sixers had an
Yes.
incredible year too. Any of these three guys could have won the award,
In a
last
normal year.
Yeah,
Right.
last year. But I go back to that, the big historic games that Coop had, the big 50-plus night or 50-plus point nights, all of that added up, especially toward the end of the season when he just went on a run. It felt like that was kind of solidified his case.
Again, deservedly close, but the deserved winner, I think, is the right way to put it.
Fair.
And again, he needed his final stretch to really put himself over the top. It was Con pretty much from the first half of the season, and it was Coop's to take away.
Really, the All-Star break, it was
Exactly.
it was Con.
And a lot of it boils down to the fact that Coop put up some 50-point games that changed the tenor on how a lot of people viewed his stats, and also how he was viewed in terms of his impact on the game. He was allowed to become the player that we all thought he was going to be when the season began, but a lot of it stems from the fact that he was put in the role where he could facilitate more and understand the flow of the game much faster, and he picked it up at a rate that I think all of us were surprised by.
For sure.
If we can show the shot from the AAC right now as they are getting ready for this press conference, and you can see they've got the big balloons, they've got a Cooper Flagg graphic on the screen. You can see Brad Townsend, Dana Larson, some other Mavs reporters, Mavs PR making their way into the room. Rick Welts, the CEO, just walking in and taking a seat there in the front row as we await the arrival of Cooper Flagg. The fact that Rick Welts just walked into the room, there's Kelly Flagg and his father as well walking in, mom and dad walking in as well. So we are probably just moments away from Cooper Flagg walking into the room and taking questions. Kyrie Irving arriving on scene, Max Christie as well. As the Dallas Mavericks are rolling out the red carpet, Derek Lively walking into the room, everybody on scene to take in the moment as Cooper Flagg is Chuck Cooperstein in the foreground, dapping up Kyrie Irving. Devin Harris as well. The entire crew on hand to take in the moment as Cooper Flagg will come to the podium here in just a matter of moments and take questions about his rookie season that did earn him the honor of NBA Rookie of the Year. Head coach Jason Kidd walking in with the puffy green vest, a fashion statement from Jay Kidd on this Wednesday afternoon. And we will see Cooper here in just a matter of moments. It was a tremendous rookie year, led the NBA, led rookies, led the Dallas Mavericks as well in points, in rebounds, in assists, in steals, in block shots. We have not seen an NBA rookie do that since Michael Jordan in 1984-85. That's the kind of season that this kid had, and there's a reason why, as great as Con Knippel was, and listen, it was a worthy debate. It made it fun. It was part of what made this year's rookie class fun, was that we did have this debate at the very apex of the rookie class with Coop and Con. But to your point, Andrew, before, it deservedly Cooper Flagg earning the honor the other night.
It's a nice cherry for this season, which started with a little bit of expectation to some degree, just to see the makings of whatever was left of a certain vision for the franchise still existed. But to see Cooper take the mantle and legitimately take it.
It was like a game.
Yes.
If you're a fan watching a game, you want to watch your team win, but you kind of hope there's a little drama in there.
Right.
You kind of hope there's a little,
Here he comes.
little conflict. But
Cooper Flagg making his way to the podium, and we'll let you listen in as he takes questions from the media here in Dallas at the AAC.
Hi, everyone. everyone. It is so good to see you here. Love the crowd here today. So appreciative of all of your efforts to come out here and celebrate what's really a special moment for the Dallas Mavericks organization. Cooper Flagg, Cooper Flagg's family, his teammates, and everyone involved in getting us to this moment here today. As you know, the NBA announced that Cooper is the Rookie of the Year for this season on Monday night. Today is about really recognizing that incredible individual achievement and also understanding where the Dallas Mavericks are going from this point forward. Cooper's approach truly from day one, I think so many of us in the room here recognize this, has been about work, consistency, and earning trust. And this award reflects that. In recognition of this moment, the Dallas Mavericks are making a $10,000 donation in Cooper's name to the Ronald McDonald House of Dallas, which we're really excited about. We're also hosting a special online auction benefiting the Mavs Foundation, where fans can bid on exclusive Cooper Flagg memorabilia. You can visit mavs.com/auction for all of those details. We're thrilled to have Cooper's parents here, his family members, along with Mavs players Derek Lively, Kyrie Irving, Max Christie, and Caleb Martin. Thrilled to see all of you here. Yes. So we're going to begin with a quick opening question. Then we'll open it up to the media. We have Grant over here. Grant, if you can raise your hand, please. And we have Sam over here running the microphones. Please introduce yourself and your outlet before you ask your question. But before we open it up to everyone else in the room, Cooper, first off, congratulations. What does this recognition mean for you? And what does it mean about your first season with the Dallas Mavericks?
Yeah, I mean, I think it means everything. I think this award and this recognition is something that all rookies come into the year fighting for, competing for, and that's they're trying to put their best foot forward for this award. So I think just the recognition means a lot to me. All the hard work, all the hours that I put in throughout the year, throughout the years previous, all the hours that I've put in my whole life just to get to this moment. I mean it shows that it's all worth it. And I mean, obviously, thank you to my teammates, obviously the ones that are here, but all the rest of them as well that aren't here. I wouldn't have been able to do it without them, coaches, Coach Kidd, the rest of the staff. I think just a thank you to them. But I mean, it's an incredible recognition, and it means a ton to me.
We'll open up to questions now. Please raise your hand. Right over here. Please, again, identify yourself and your outlet. Go ahead, Christian.
Hey, Christian Clark with The Athletic. I'm sure it's a unique dynamic, competing against your friend for this award. How much did you and Con, just keep up with each other throughout the year? And did you get a chance to talk to him after this award got announced?
Yeah, I mean, me and Con, we talked all year long, but we never talked about, the Rookie of the Year or, what people were saying about any of that. It was more just support, for one another and, staying in contact. I mean, he's somebody that, will be one of my best friends for the rest of my life. So just staying in contact, seeing how things have been different for him and what he's learned and, just trying to help each other, in our own, single, journeys apart from each other. But just learning as much as we can about this league and, how we can be better. But, yeah, we definitely stayed in contact. And, yeah, I've talked to him since the other night.
Here to the right, please.
Ronald Rod, DLS Sports. And just Coop, there were so many expectations put on you this year, but did you reach your own expectations?
Yeah, I think, people always talk about expectations and things like that, but for me, it's always just been about, living up to my own standard, the people around me and those standards. And, I know if I just live up to who I am and, who I am every single day, that, the rest of that stuff will figure itself out. And that's something that I've said since, the first day I walked in here and did my press conference after the draft. So
We're right over here to the left.
Cooper, congratulations on the award. Abby Jones, DLS Sports. Highs or lows throughout the season, you would say that you're confident in your game. What does this award prove to yourself about how confident you are in your game and then the ceiling?
Yeah, for sure. I think it's just confidence, like you said. There was moments throughout the year where, I was at a low. There's a lot of lows, obviously battling with, the losses and struggling at times. But, I think just having, my support system around me, my family, my teammates, lifting me up and getting me through some of that stuff, it just helped me with my confidence overall. And I think, this award is just, another step in the right direction and giving me more confidence moving forward.
We'll go over here to Dwayne and then to the back right there.
Dwayne Price, Mavs.com. Cooper, first of all, what do you think of the reception of all the Mavs employees out there? And then what in particular did you learn about yourself this season?
Yeah, I think, the reception like that, I mean, it brings me back to some of the first moments, when I touched down in Dallas and got off the plane after the draft. And, it was kind of a very similar thing. And I was walking through, all the people. But it just shows all the love and support, all the people have for me since day one that have been here and been around. So, I mean, it means a ton for that. But, yeah.
And then we'll go right back there to the back.
Valencia King with Real Talk Sports. First, congratulations, and as always, thank you for your time. We know it takes a lot of sacrifices to achieve an accomplishment like this. If you could tell anything to the younger Cooper that made those sacrifices to get you to this point, what would you say?
Yeah, I think like I said, I would just tell them that it's worth it. All the hours, all the sacrifices, being different from everybody else, choosing to do things that, other people weren't doing, at times. And honestly, there was the harder decisions back then, but now it always, to me, it just looks like it was the easy decision. But yeah, just something that's worth it. All the work, all the hours, just enjoying the grind and the progression. I'm thankful for it.
We're going to go straight ahead to Brad, then back over to Eddie.
Hey, Cooper. Brad Townsend, Dallas Morning News. I would assume you were involved somehow in the Gatorade ad, I believe it was Gatorade ad with Paige leaving you a voicemail. Wondered what you thought about that ad and kind of the message that it sent.
Yeah, I think just the support. Obviously, she's in Dallas as well, and I think a very similar situation. Like, she was the #1 pick. She came in, had an incredible, first year, and so I think just having that support, knowing that there's somebody, right there, right down the street that went through a very similar thing, and just having her reach out and have that support is huge.
Eddie, right over here.
Yeah, Coop, Eddie Sefco, Mavs.com. You mentioned that it takes a village to build something to win an award like this. If I could take you back to the beginning of the season, Jason says we're putting the ball in your hands. Obviously, that decision worked out pretty well for everybody. But when it happened, could you recall your thoughts about the first moments when you found out, I'm going to be playing a lot of point guard, and was there trepidation or outside your comfort zone, or how were you feeling?
Yeah, I mean, I think as a player, I'm always ready for, a challenge, and, something that I've always prided myself on is just doing whatever it takes to win. So, I mean, it was just another challenge, and being prepared to, do what I had to do to help the team win in any way possible. And, Coach Kidd has an incredible, eye for the game, and he reads the game at a high level. So, I mean, he knows what he's doing, better than anybody. And so just to trust in him and trust myself and all the work that I put in, and I was never worried or anything like that. So it was just about, overcoming the challenge and rising up.
Straight ahead to Dana, please.
Congrats, Coop. Dana Larson with Mavs TV. Is there, when you look back, a play, a stretch of games, a game in particular that you really feel like defined your rookie season?
Not really. I wouldn't say that it was, one particular moment that defined the season. I mean, it was a long season for sure, and I think going from college to, an 82-game season is a big jump, and it's hard to prepare for. But I wouldn't really say there's one play that I look at that defined the season itself, but there's a collection of different moments and, different learning experiences for me throughout the year.
Straight back here, please. Right here. Go ahead.
Congratulations, Cooper. Ron Murray, K104. So, of course, with your rookie season wrapped up, where would you say that you really grew in your strengths, and where would you like to elevate your game as you go into your second year?
Yeah, I would say I grew in a lot of different areas, but I think just being comfortable and confident was a big thing for me. I think at times throughout the start of the season, like, I just was hesitant and I wasn't aggressive and certain things like that. So I think just getting more and more comfortable out there, trusting my instincts, trusting myself, and that just led to, me having a lot more success out there. So.
We go to the back, the photog row, to the right.
Cooper, congratulations, Daniel Stevis, CW33. You've got teammates here to support you. I'm sure that support fueled a lot of your progression throughout the season. I'm curious, how excited are you to continue the journey alongside some of these teammates? And what's your message to the rest of the NBA on what the Mavs could do moving forward?
Yeah, it feels great. Obviously, these guys are here in support, and, it feels great. But I think we're all excited. Obviously, coming into this year, we all had different expectations and, a different way that we thought the year would go. But, all that, in the past, it's time for us to just move forward, continue to grow, continue to get better, and, have a high outlook on how next year can go. And we're just going to put in the work all summer long and just get ready for it. So I think we're all excited.
Back over here to the left to Pat.
Hey, Cooper. Pat Doney, NBC Dallas. Congratulations. You're going to celebrate now by getting into a NASCAR car this weekend. Can you talk about the process of hearing about that, what you're looking forward to, what you think it's going to be like?
Yeah, they presented the idea to me, and I haven't really watched a ton of NASCAR, but growing up, it was definitely a part of our family. I mean, both my parents would go to NASCAR on the I don't know what it is, like a weekend trip or week-long thing. They would go camp or whatever and have a lot of fun. So heard a lot of stories from them and how exciting it can be and how much fun it is. So I was excited for the opportunity and kind of excited to just kind of broaden my horizons and get a new experience and have a lot of fun.
The Flagg family. They are NASCAR fans. Cooper will be driving the pace car at this weekend's race at Texas Motor Speedway, FYI. Okay, where were we? Microphone. Right over here. Right. Let's get my pass phone right over here, please.
Walt Chisholm, BFB, DFW. We talked about Paige earlier. You and Paige were both #1 picks. How does it feel for the immediate impact that you two are having on DFW sports? And if you approve your new nickname, Cooper Swag?
You say it again?
Your nickname, Cooper Swag.
Cooper Swag?
Yeah.
Okay.
Is that news to you?
Yeah, I've never heard that. But I think it's cool. Like I said earlier, for me and Paige to be here, I think it can say a lot and about the future and just knowing that how much of an impact she's had and on the younger generation and I've been able to feel a huge impact on the younger generation as well. It makes me really happy and I feel blessed because I don't feel that far removed from being a little kid and looking up to players and stuff like that. So it feels great.
Oh, Mike, right over there.
Hi, I'm Mike Ducey from Fox 4. You talk about doing the work in the off season. What does that entail in terms of maybe specific areas where you'll try to be even better in year number 2?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I'm going to work on a lot of different things. There's always room for improvement, in every area of the game. But, I think there's a ton of growth that I can make offensively, off the dribble and making reads, at a high level. So I'm excited to just get in the gym, especially with some of the guys, and continue to learn and grow in a lot of different areas.
All righty. Anybody else for Cooper? One more, Ron. Go ahead.
Just how did you find out that you won the award and like that immediate feeling? Can you just describe when you immediately found out?
Yeah, I found out at 6 o'clock on TV. I was sitting on my couch at home with my family, and so I saw Grant open, the letter or whatever, and he read it out. So it was a cool moment. It was probably one of the first times that I've won an award, and I had to find out with everybody else. So I think that was pretty cool. I had a lot of anticipation, and honestly, I was a little nervous. So it was cool, just to be there with my family and find out, just like everybody else.
Yeah, there was no advance warning. We can all confirm that. There was no advance warning. If there are no more questions, we would like to present Cooper his Rookie of the Year trophy. To do that, we'd like to invite Kia's Southwest Regional Marketing Manager, Amber Parham, to present the Kia Rookie of the Year trophy. It's called the Wilt Chamberlain Trophy, which is appropriate because Cooper and Wilt are the only rookies to score 96 points over the span of 2 games, which is pretty cool. So this. Everyone can get a photo here. We're also going to have Jason Kidd come up. Jason Kidd and the players. Brandon Williams did join us. We're glad you joined us, Brandon. Be Will, thank you. Hang on. And then we'll have the Flagg family come up. Everybody good? Everybody good? Coach Kidd, would you mind coming up here? The 94-95 co-Rookie of the Year, the one and only Jason Kidd. Everybody good? All righty. Coach Kidd, can you stay up here? We'd like to invite Brandon, we'd like to invite Kyrie, Derek, Max, and Caleb up here to take a photo if you don't mind. Of course, Kyrie Irving, a former Rookie of the Year as well. Come on up, guys.
All right, look right here, good. 1, 2, 3, 4. So stiff, Coop.
Pretty good?
Don't drop it.
Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you, thank you.
That's great. Oh.
One more, we'd like to
So
invite the
Cooper
flag.
Flagg, trophy in hand.
Cradling it.
The new NBA Rookie of the Year. As you heard a moment ago, the Wilt Chamberlain Trophy.
Here comes Mom and Dad.
Yep.
Ralph and Kelly.
What a year for this family. What a couple of years for this
Seriously.
family. From his reclassification from
Yeah.
junior to senior year to his year at Duke to now #1 overall pick in the NBA draft and the NBA Rookie of the Year. It has been a whirlwind from IMG Academy to now, from
Yeah.
Maine to now for this young man.
But yeah,
And
for those who need a reminder here, Cooper reclassified. So this is basically, he could have been high school to the NBA. It's that type of age where
he should be in this year's draft class.
Correct.
He should have been a freshman this year in college basketball, and he should have been. Imagine this draft class with him. He'd still be the #1 overall pick over all
Although
of these
there are
other
some-
guys.
There are some pundits out there would have you believe otherwise, and they're wrong.
Yeah.
But yeah, word to the wise though, we saw Kelly Flagg up there, Cooper's mom. Do not cross Kelly Flagg on Twitter because she will nuke you.
Mama Bear.
Yes.
Oh my goodness.
She will come after you.
Yeah.
And
Cooper won Rookie of the Year, but she deserves an award for some of the absolute heat that she displayed.
Well, and let's not forget the fact that she was part of the impetus for the fact that he did reclassify, for the fact that he did go to IMG, for the fact that he did end up at Duke a year earlier, because it was her line, and it's such a great line. If you're the best player in the gym, find another gym.
Yeah.
And he moved from Maine to IMG Academy, then decided to reclassify because he needed to get to Duke earlier, because he needed to get to the NBA earlier, because he's this good. And she's the lighter fluid behind all of that, and that's to me, that's really cool.
We saw this last year a little bit, but more so, it's more prevalent in the WNBA when a player gets drafted and goes right into the WNBA season, and it's nonstop. Like Paige Beckers at the end of last year. Like UConn won the national championship. She gets drafted. She comes to Dallas. She goes right into offseason. She goes right into her WNBA season. It's just a whirlwind.
Yeah.
They have it way different than the NBA does, but it has been a whirlwind for Cooper Flagg from what he did, going the deep run at Duke, then going right into the offseason conditioning, going into the draft, coming to Dallas, and then going into Summer League. And it's just been non-stop for him. And he's gotten better month over month.
It did strike me, the one line where he said he doesn't feel that far removed from being a little kid. That's factual. Like that's not hyperbole. This kid is 19 years old.
Still a little kid.
Exactly. He's 19 years old. He turns 20 in December. Like to consider the trajectory of like where we were when we were 20 years old, and imagine being an NBA Rookie of the Year and have all of the hopes and dreams of an entire city worth of basketball on your shoulders is incredible. And I think it's worth remarking that how he handles himself in this press conference, how he's handled himself throughout this entire season, and what has been a relatively difficult season start to finish. It's been really impressive, and it speaks to how mature he is for his age.
And we've got Michelle Montaigne just walked into the room because we can't do a Cooper Flagg show without her making a guest appearance. I think that's why she came in.
I don't know how much of this is
I
getting
have
picked up
no
on
makeup
Mike.
on. I look.
Oh no! Oh no!
Now
she's
She literally ducked.
Did you see that?
First of all, the cat-like reflexes. That was impressive.
What's the opposite of vertical leap? Oh my!
I'm crawling out of the room. Okay.
I don't know how much of this is getting picked up on Mike's, but it's all fantastic.
That was amazing.
Oh, hang on. We got you. 1 sec. Here.
That was.
Anyway, We got that covered.
You never know who will show up on the Ultimate Dallas
She's
Sports
going
Show.
to be on the news tonight,
And
but
she's gonna
apparently
leave the
she
door
hasn't.
closed. Unbelievable. Anyway.
Outstanding.
Anyway.
PLG, well done to you, sir, for popping that camera up and creating that moment. That she evaporated from the screen.
PLG, just for that, you're going to get an extra 6 seconds of soccer talk this week.
Thank you very
That
much.
was great.
I appreciate that.
By the way, Cooper Swag.
Where
did that
amazing
come
question.
from?
Amazing question.
Let him cook.
Has anybody had anybody heard that before?
No, but it's kind of good.
Because clearly Coop hadn't either.
The
He had
face
no
he
idea
made
what
when he
that
first
was.
heard it was like,
it's kind of good.
What did you?
It reminded me of a certain prank video, seeing the face. But
But the one that we can't play on WFAA Plus.
Exactly. But all things considered, again, nicknames or not, it is again difficult to rationalize that this is all just the tip of the iceberg with this kid.
Mm-hmm.
With everything we've seen this year, we talk about expectations. All of us, I think, to some degree, with the roster that was initially constructed around him, we're sitting there thinking, oh, he doesn't have to shoulder the load. He ended up having to, and he proved he could in his rookie season, which is an incredible thing for this franchise to have light at the end of the tunnel at this point.
Yeah,
It's unbelievable.
There wasn't any for a while.
But it took some time. And I think it was great seeing not just the Duke players there, but also, Max Christie come in and show, and Jason Kidd. But to see the team support around him is really impressive. They've all embraced this kid and the energy that he's brought to the city, the fan base, and the team itself. It's really cool.
We are definitely not to this point yet. What will it take for Mavs fans to feel like they're in? I don't know. Is there a way for Mavs fans to feel like they're in a better position than they could have? What needs?
You mean
like
post debacle
in a post Luka world?
Is that what
Yeah,
we're calling it?
of course it was a debacle.
What is that? The word choice we want? Debacle?
I mean, considering
The
how
trade of Luka Doncic was absolutely a debacle.
it might be an
I have got a
understatement.
few other words for it
Break out the
that we can't use on WFAA Plus.
Break out the thesauri. Here we go.
Razor's going to join us too.
I don't know if Razor has the words to
Yeah.
properly elucidate just how stupid that trade was, and will we ever get to that point? Will there ever be a moment when Mavs fans feel like,
Yeah, because time heals all. I mean, listen, it's 2026.
Ask the Red Sox
By
about
the
how
time
time
20
heals things.
By the time 2030 rolls around, people will be moving on. Certainly by 2050, it'll be something in a history book. Time heals all wounds.
In a history book, but not unforgotten on the face of this franchise.
Certainly not now. We're only, 14 months removed from it? Of course
Listen,
not.
but it also depends upon how the careers unfold from here. If Coop
sure.
if Coop delivers upon all of the promise that his career
Who
feels
wins
like it
the
has,
ring first?
I don't even think it's about who wins
Coop
it first
or Luka?
I don't think it's about who wins it first. I think it's whether they both do, or whether neither do. I think any option
what
is
do
on
we
the
think
table.
Luka's chances are this year with the way that the Lakers have started the playoffs? And the fact
long
that
as he
he
gets
and
back.
Reeves are about to come back at some point.
Is this turning into a Lakers podcast? Is that where we're going? Okay.
It is always going
Right.
to be the comparison point for the Mavericks as
Yes.
long as Luka Doncic is in the NBA. So the Lakers will always be relevant in this market until Luka is out of the NBA or no longer in LA, if somehow that comes along, comes to pass in the future. That will always be the comparison point. That will always be the
For sure.
That's what could have been for Mavs fans.
I get people on social media always I'll post something about Luka because there are a lot of people in this market that still love Luka.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I will post things that are related to Luka because they are interested in that. But then there's always like this small group of people that are like, move on, we don't care anymore.
Oh, there's a bunch of that.
Get
yes.
over it. The trade happened. Move on. And I'm like, how many burner accounts does Nico Harrison have that he can comment on all of my posts? It is astounding.
It's patently unrealistic for anybody to think that coverage of the Mavs going forward will not be, at least in some form or fashion,
Get
colored
real.
by the lens.
There's no out of sight,
what
out of
happened
mind.
with
Get
Luka
real.
Doncic.
Colored, sure, but I think part of the dialogue here is the fact that pending what they do with Kyrie, pending what happens with Jason Kidd moving forward. There are still tangible elements that connect Luka's time here with this current roster. And until in which those are severed, and I'm not suggesting they should. That's part of this. Like, I want to see what Kyrie looks like with Cooper Flagg. I think Jason Kidd's been fantastic for Flagg's development, and I think it'd be fantastic to see what he can do with a young and up-and-coming roster, depending on what they do this offseason. I just bring this up to say, as long as there are faces involved with this franchise that were around for that trade, it will still feel tangible. Until Cooper is the face and it is an entirely new roster around him, then you can kind of sit there and think, not only is it separated, but it is a brand new era to some degree. But we're all still relatively close to it.
No matter what Mavs fans may think about this, and I think Mavs fans are probably pretty split on this. I think there's a vocal quotient of Mavs fans that is ready to move on from him, but there are also Mavs fans that feel like he's a good coach that led him to the NBA Finals once and led him to the Western Conference Finals twice, but clearly the organization is not ready to move on from Jason Kidd.
Right.
They are not there. The ownership is not there. The way that they have spoken about him, the way that they are supporting him, the way that they are featuring him in this moment today, the organization's not moving on from Jason Kidd, no matter how much some Mavs fans may need that kind of thing, and not just with Kidd, but with other faces within this organization, to your point as well. That's not happening this offseason.
Right. And listen, it could change because they haven't hired a
new GM,
a permanent GM.
Yeah.
They've got the co-interims. And if it's not an internal hire or promotion to general manager, then that new GM might want somebody else. He might want one of his own guys from past experiences to be the head coach. We don't know that yet. But where it stands now, Kidd has had to work wonders over the last few years. Like, he hasn't really – the one year he had the ideal setup where Kyrie and Luka were both healthy and both played together and had a full year together. They went to the NBA Finals. And then the next year, Luka gets traded midseason, Kyrie gets hurt. And, like, what are you supposed to do with that?
Yeah.
And then you have a roster, void of its number one star. Anthony Davis hurt all the time. Cooper Flagg comes in. Like, really, what are you supposed to do with that?
Yes.
And they really, to our – like, we didn't really have any expectations for the Mavs this year.
Right.
The expectation was lose enough games so you can go get another pick
Again,
and really build around
to some degree. If you were smelling the salts to some degree, a lot of people were pointing back to the 3 quarters of decent basketball we got against the Rockets. With if Anthony Davis is there and you add Cooper Flagg to it, that was always the pipe dream, right? That we didn't know whether it was going to be that way, and at least to a certain degree, when the season first started out, you were thinking, learn behind Anthony Davis, take your time with this, and see how things unfold. Instead, we got a rookie season comparable to Luka's rookie season in terms of raw stats at the end of the regular season, which, again, is ahead of progress for this kid. It's, again, 19 years old. And if you were going to tell a lot of people you can move on from Luka, but the cost, and again, this was not the decision for trading him. But if you were going to tell people, hey, you moved on from Luka, but you got another kid that has that same kind of trajectory, and you get another 7 years of him instead, that's not a totally bad outcome for what happened here. It's not the reason why it happened, but it is where Mavs fans find themselves right now to some degree.
If you end up top 4 in this year's draft, then it gets a little bit easier to see that light at the end of the tunnel. Because now you could
You need that to see the light?
To see it fast enough for Mavs fans. I mean, like,
the moment they won the draft lottery
last year, yeah,
that was light. Because
that's fair.
There was such darkness around this franchise because Kyrie hurt, AD. We all knew what to kind of expect with that. There was no hope for this team beyond maybe a year or two of competing,
right?
Because all of your best players are aging assets, and now with checkered injury histories, Clay too, with his injury history, you needed something to revitalize that. And winning the draft lottery, that singular moment, even though there's video of Nico Harrison celebrating and running around the room, for Mavericks fans, that singular moment of winning the draft lottery will be what turned this entire franchise back around, because it was headed down a dark path for the rest of this decade and into the 2030s.
I keep imagining what the season would have been like if they didn't.
Could you imagine what the next 3 years would be like if they didn't win the draft?
10 years would look like.
10 too. Yes, absolutely.
That singular draft, that lottery, that ping pong ball, changed everything.
Imagine if everything else plays out as it has. Kyrie's still out. Anthony Davis.
Well, does
gets
Kyrie
hurt
force
midway
his
through
way
the
back
season.
into the lineup? Is the question. Like, do you
What
push
would
the
have
envelope?
what would have been the purpose? Because
If we're talking about
if they
depreciating
didn't
assets.
win, if they didn't win the draft lottery last year, your need to win the draft lottery this year would have been magnified by a billion. Kyrie Irving doesn't touch the floor at all this season because the organization would have told him, your knee's not healthy enough yet. I don't care what you say. Your knee is not healthy enough.
We will
yet.
find.
You're not
We will
playing.
find. We will go around to every doctor until we find one that says
we will
it's not healthy
Tanya
enough.
Harding you to make sure your knee is not healthy enough because we need to lose games this year.
We don't want to get sued by Tanya Harding. She's very, very litigious. To some degree, though. The only reason I bring that up is with the front office, like, again, we're assuming things played out the same way they were. But let's also look at it from the perspective of the front office didn't have a get-out-of-jail-free card, like resetting with Cooper Flagg. Would they have looked at Nico's situation and thought, we're all in on this right now. We have to double down. And the only way to do that is to try and salvage some kind of playoff appearance out of this to show, hey, we're still around and still relevant. But that's all ifs, then statements. I think the most important thing, though, is they don't have to worry about that because they've got at least a future. Whether or not it is going to be as interesting, as dynamic as what we saw with Luka and the trajectory that he was on, that is still to be written. I think the important thing is, though, they've got someone to believe in. That is someone worth coming to games to see.
Yeah, it's hope.
Exactly.
It still feels like a lot of Mavs fans aren't subscribing to that hope yet.
There are a lot that have not come around yet.
They're just
well, I mean,
they have
listen.
written the Mavs off because of what they did.
Betrayal is nasty, man.
Exactly.
When you feel betrayed, it takes time and
it's a
regaining
scar.
that trust.
Yeah.
For some, they will never go back.
Yeah.
It's a scar. It's an open wound. However you want to phrase it, like it is a sensitive topic.
There's a reason every time the Lakers come to town, it's a big deal. It's a story. Because that trade turned, listen, some Mavs fans will say, well, those people weren't Mavs fans. Luka was that loved that he turned Mavs fans into Lakers fans.
Yeah. Well, and especially in the NBA, which more so than other leagues.
Like people were Mavs fans. Luka comes in.
Right.
Then Luka gets traded and other Lakers fans.
Right.
Because they like him that much.
But that's also because the NBA is personality-driven more than team-driven to some degree.
It is.
It made a switch right around the early 2010s where everyone was hopping on individual players and their legacies. Luka is just the latest extension of that.
Totally true.
And it's nice that the Mavs have someone that looks like he can be on that same trajectory. It's like they might not have the global pull of the Lakers, for instance, or the international pull, technically, that Luka had.
The irony of all that is that these NBA stars change teams more frequently than most of the other sports. There was a time where, like the eras of the Birds and the Jordans and the Magics, where you used to play with one team your entire career, those days are gone.
Right.
And but there was charm to that.
Yes.
Right. And that I feel like that added to people's, to the way we viewed these players to some degree. And we just don't have that anymore. And so when you attach yourself so much to a player, you're really playing with fire.
Yeah.
Because these guys demand trades all the time. The contract, the amount
Imagine
of money
being
that
a
you're
James
paying.
Harden fan. You've attached yourself to James Harden.
How many jerseys do you own if you're a James Harden fan? You got your whole closet filled.
Most of the Eastern Conference.
Oh my gosh.
Eastern and Western, excuse me. But I think that's why, to me, the Gatorade
Get Brian
ad-
Damaris on line too. You're the problem.
But that's why, to me, the Gatorade ad worked so well, because it took the two most recent number one picks in this town and tethered them to, we want to bring a title to this city. We're not just out for an individual, hey, we want to have great careers and end up as one of the greatest players of all time. It was challenging. We want to win one here. Who's going to win it first here? And that's why I think it resonated well for people, Mavs fans, Wings fans, whoever, that are willing and ready to follow both of these players' careers.
He's Rookie of the Year. They've at least got that much to hang their hat on, and now you move the clock forward to the draft lottery, which is 11 days from now. They have a 6.7% chance of getting the number one pick again, which would light the NBA on fire. What? Where are you going?
Do we have to get kicked off the air, PLG, or can we just let it rip?
Y'all can go as long as you want to.
All right. I'm pulling up the NBA draft prospects. and we're going to make a short list of how many of these dudes can make an immediate impact and make this team like a legit playoff contender.
29% chance of a top 4 pick.
Top 20,
which that feels a lot more plausible.
Yeah, and then after that, it's what?
Either 8 or 9, or hypothetically 10. But again, to have 2 teams jump you in the lottery feels highly improbable given those teams' odds to move up.
I'd say if they can get in the top 4.
I think top 4 is fair.
Not to say that the my 5, 6, 7 are not, they're not bad players, but the top 4 feel like they stand out in a different way.
Right.
DeBonsa, Peterson, Boozer, and Caleb Martin.
Wrong.
Who's the 4th?
Caleb
Wagler?
Wilson, by the way. Wilson,
Peterson,
not Martin.
Keaton Wagler, and Darius Acuff.
Interesting. Okay.
So give it to me again.
DeBonsa, Peterson, Keaton Wagler, and Darius Acuff.
Okay.
So
those are your top 4 in general, or those are your top 4 relative to the Dallas
Wilson
Mavericks?
are like 4A or like 4A, 4B to me.
Okay.
And then I have Boozer pretty firmly behind them.
So
interesting.
But Boozer's
Okay.
got the reputation to go early, so if you're a fan of the other 2, there's a chance if they're in the 5, 6 spot,
That's
they're
great.
fine.
But the Mavs can't end up 5 or 6.
Right.
They can only end up either top 4 or 8, 9, 10, or 11.
I'm just not sure what Boozer does better than PJ Washington as a prospect.
Aside from the youth?
Clip that. That's a hot take right there.
and
PJ is literally like this right now.
Let's
come on.
Let's fast forward to 1 year. And
PJ's going, that's right, Jonah. You talk your talk.
And Cameron Boozer is your NBA Rookie of the Year for 2000. Oh, man, I will look terrible. I have some bad takes, so this could easily get clipped and put on
PLG's
freezing.
like, maybe we should wrap now.
So I like the Wagler kid, Keaton Wagler out of Illinois.
He showed me something in the tournament.
Yes.
Man. When something's on the line, that dude wanted the ball, and he's got length. He can handle. I like that pick.
That
And he
dude will
fit,
pull
and he-
from anywhere.
What did we talk about with Fred Katz? The gravity?
Yeah.
Wagler has gravity to him. I like it.
Yeah.
I know. Listen, Peterson, I don't know how to feel about him. I felt he had a weird year at
He had
Kansas.
a very weird year.
In and out of the lineup.
Yeah. A lot.
But when he was in, he was great. I don't know what that means. And
But this
DeBonsa,
is where you get into the load management conversation we were having
Right.
earlier today of like, if you need a player, if you have a guy who has to be 100% healthy in order for him to walk out on the floor, that's a flaw. That's a character flaw. That's an athletic flaw. That is going back to you and I having the conversation about Deion Sanders off the air earlier this afternoon.
Don't bring that up here. We don't
That's
need
an
another half
availability
hour of
flaw. That would concern me relative to Peterson, and I think that's going to ding him at least. He's terrific. To your point, Jonah, when he's on the floor,
he's good. Yeah.
Get out of the way.
Right.
That kid's fantastic. But
I'm not sold on Cameron Boozer being an X factor. I could see him being a very solid number 4 or 3 for a team, 3 at best.
So he's his dad.
But he's not moving the needle.
Can we
the way
just a second here on Boozer, because listen, we've had a lot of things over the last decade or so that have made
I'll
us
tell
feel
you-
old in this space, but I'm still getting over the fact that I watched his dad play and I'm seeing his kid drafted. That's where I'm at.
I called one of their games when they were in high school. Cameron and Carlos, when they were in high school, one of the high schools in Miami, they played a game here in
Cameron
North
and
Texas. Cameron and Caden, thank you.
yeah.
Did I say Cameron and Carlos?
Yes.
yeah, no, they weren't teammates. Cameron and Caden, thank you. That would be quite the, shoot, LeBron and Bronny, you're doing it right now. So it is quite a feat to be teammates like that. Can you imagine if Carlos Boozer was still playing right now? How old is Carlos Boozer right now?
Somebody can use 5, 2, and 1.
Dude, come on.
I know he's better than
Why
that.
you got to do
he's
him
a,
like
he's a lot
that?
better than that. I apologize.
He's 44. He's only a little bit older than LeBron.
Well, he was playing against them in the Eastern Conference Final. Like the year that the Heat
wild.
went to Heat faced the Mavericks in 2011. They were battling against each other. Like that. That's not altogether that surprising. It's just surprising that it's like, oh my. Again, it puts it in perspective. It's like, yeah, as much as the NBA is recycling some of these names with families,
He's
it's
been
coming
out
faster.
of the league for almost a decade. Yeah. Carlos. 2016-17 was his final. I'm sorry. That was not in the NBA. That was with the Guangdong Southern Tigers of the is that the Chinese league? I'm not certain.
Are you talking about James Harden's next team?
Right. His final NBA season was 2014-15 with the Lakers. Let me just make sure that I'm getting this right.
That Harden Guangdong jersey is going to be an absolute fire.
It might be
Yes,
the
they are in
Guangdong
the
Fire.
Chinese professional basketball organization. The Chinese Basketball Association. So, yeah,
You're so
Boozer's
bad
final
for that.
NBA year was 2014-15 with the Lakers 11 years ago. He was a contemporary of LeBron, played with LeBron when he first came into the league. They were on the Cavs together.
Yeah.
He was drafted in the second round in 2002, and LeBron was drafted the very next year as the number 1 overall pick. And now, hypothetically, if LeBron decides to go one more year, he could play against Carlos's son.
I think we just gave him incentive to come back just for that stat alone. That's crazy. That is insane.
It really is. It really is.
Here, I'll leave you with this. My last thought on draft prospects, because we did go down this road. If they do, what's worst case scenario? They end up with pick.
Probably worst case that is actually plausible and mathematically at all likely to happen would be 10. I don't think if
9
they
or
end up
10.
11 and they have
so
3 teams jump them, that's not going to happen. It's probably either 8 or 9 because one team below them jumped above them,
Right.
or they end up hitting that 29% lottery and jump up into the top 4.
I'll tell you, if that happens, and LeBaron Philon from Alabama, if he's still on the board at 10 or 11, I think I would take him over any of the other dudes that would be in contention.
You think there's any chance the Flemings kid, the point guard from Houston,
He might
gets to
fall.
8?
He might fall. I was not impressed with him watching him play.
I just want.
felt
Can
like
you
he-
get? Is there value
I felt like
there?
he
at 8?
I felt like he's quick to disappear. And watching Philon play for Alabama, he just never disappeared. And again, maybe that's tournament bias, but he played really well in the dance against really good competition.
A-Cuff is fun.
And,
Yeah.
you know,
If
add-
you can
adding a
somehow
6
find your way to A-Cuff, that would be a lot of fun.
Right, and there's some people who are like, why do you want A-Cuff if you have Kyrie? I'm like, well,
You're not
going
gonna
to have Kyrie,
Kyrie.
for a
Yeah.
decade. And, you need to start thinking about future if he's there because he is dynamic. But I think they're going to be fine. I mean, obviously, best case scenario is getting a top 4. They could still find a guy who can really impact the team in 2 years, 3 years at that pick 10. But that obviously does impact things with Kyrie because you probably only have how many great years left with him? 2?
Well, and that's what makes this draft feel so
Important?
imperative
Yeah.
is
Yeah.
that they don't it's not even the Kyrie of it all. It's the fact that they don't have any draft capital for years now. They don't control their first-round pick now until 2031. Somewhere in there is a Lakers first-round pick, but what's the value actually going to be there if they're picking 27th or whatever?
Especially now that the new tanking rules, if those do go into effect, there are limitations around which picks can be protected too. So even to that degree, you don't necessarily know what you're getting out of those picks.
Well, but they don't
They're
have
going to miss
any
it.
of them.
They're going to miss the tanking rules.
They are. They're going to entirely miss this 3-year
27,
window.
28, 29.
Yeah.
It
They're
doesn't
out.
affect them unless they trade for a first-round pick.
But that's almost where you could argue that Kyrie's value comes in a way to recoup. If you're going to try, no pun intended, but if you're going to try and draft
Your
a young
brain
point guard,
works in a different way than ours. I didn't even hear the pun. I didn't even hear it.
I heard it. I choose not to acknowledge them.
Yeah, that's the better way to go through life.
I disagree. But no, like if you're going to try and bring in any, I'm trying to avoid it again. You're going to try and bring in any draft capital. Kyrie's one of the main assets you can do to try and leverage that. That's the question. And if you get someone in this draft that can fill in that young point guard role, that young running mate, that changes the timetable on Kyrie. I'm not suggesting I want it to happen because I do want to see what Coop and Kyrie can do. But also Kyrie's draft, or it's not draft, but trade value, as much as we want to see him be back on the court, it's also not going to be that much higher than what people value him at right now.
That's what's tough about this is you don't typically see a team with a super young player and a guy who's like an aging vet link up and it works.
Right.
Usually you have a core like the Thunder that are on a similar track, the Spurs that have a core on a similar track, or you have a team like the Lakers where they've got a couple of guys who are 25 plus.
And they're a destination
LeBron's
spot
is-
for
yeah.
free agency, so
Right.
that's
It's
part
something
of it.
like that where we get the destination guys and we just try to reload and make a run every few years. It's different because you've got Coop and Kyrie and they're on different trajectories.
Right.
Right? Like one's down, one's going up. So like how do you play? Do you go for the player in the draft that can give you the best shot in the next 2-3 years? Or do you get the best possible player that can be Coop's running mate for 8 years? And
I
you don't
think that
even
has
worry
to
about
be.
and you don't even worry about the Kyrie factor.
Right.
I think that has to be the way that you approach it because it is.
You can't put all your eggs into one basket of 2 years.
No.
Because that's what got them here in the first place.
Exactly. And by no means do I mean to suggest that they're the same player, but to use your Thunder analogy, they have their Kevin Durant. They need their Russell Westbrook. They've hit on one. They have to hit on another.
I like how
here.
you went the
And
old
it
school Thunder
doesn't-
build and not the current Thunder build because they've had 2 different iterations of
Well,
that.
that's a
technically.
fair point, but I guess that was a more direct
Right.
1-2. Like this has to be. They don't have the option. They haven't stockpiled draft picks the way that the current vintage Thunder have. They
Correct.
have these 2 bites at the apple, and that's it. You're 1 for 1 right now. You have to be 2 for 2 because there is no third pick coming. And then maybe the way to go is because Kyrie's on a 3-year deal right now. He's just lived out the first year of that contract without playing, but getting healthy. And maybe you have him show what he can do the first half of next year and make him a trade deadline deal and try and get some draft capital for him and he goes to join a contender because you're not quite there yet. Maybe that's the way to go and you can work your way into somebody's first round pick. I don't think you're getting probably more than, NBA trades that aren't orchestrated by Nico Harrison do tend to lend themselves to more than just 1 first-round pick for a superstar. Kyrie's got to prove he's still a superstar, but if he can the first half of next year, maybe you can get more than just 1.
That's kind of what I'm saying, though. There's almost like this unknown quantity until he takes the court, too.
Oh, it's absolutely unknown.
But it's unknown positive and negative, right?
Sure.
From everyone still remembers what he was like pre-injury, and we all say it. Injuries these days are not what they used to be back in the early 2010s. Medical science has come a long way to getting these guys back up and running, and he's taken a lot of extra rest to get himself ready to go. So by all accounts, he should be able to hit the season running if he wants to. And if there are a number of teams that would love to have Kyrie Irving on their roster, the question is whether or not the Mavs can get enough return for him, or whether it's just worthwhile to use him as the developmental stage of Cooper's career.
I just take the best player.
Yeah, exactly.
Because we saw Luka and Kyrie play together, and it worked. And those are 2 ball-dominant guys.
Yeah.
So there's
and
no
it
reason.
also took a minute to work.
It did.
The first, whatever 20 games they had together, it didn't work, and everybody was up in arms. Oh, my gosh, they made this terrible trade. It's not going to work. Give it a half a second, and clearly it did work.
Right. You can have 2 ball-dominant, 2 ball handlers, 2 point guard type players. They can make it work. It's it's basketball in 2026. It's very much positionless.
Yeah.
It's what you can do on the floor and not so much how tall are you and what position do you play like when we were kids. Like you're a center, you're this. It doesn't really exist anymore. They look at your height, your wingspan, your ability to shoot threes, and who can you guard? And and can you handle the ball? And make the right reads if you're doubled.
And that's
there are players in
part
this
part of the reason why Boozer is maybe dinged a little bit. I think in your mind is there are probably questions about. I think that he can.
I want them to have in a running mate a guy who can hit a shot in a big moment, off the dribble or something, or create his own shot.
Yeah.
And I just don't know if Cameron Boozer is that type of player. It feels like he does everything really well, but I'm not sure he's like a closeout a game type of player the way like a Debonsa would be, or a Phylon or Acuff or Wagler for sure has that. So yeah, maybe that's where I ding him a bit. And I'm not I'm not dropping him like 20.
Sure.
But I don't necessarily view him as high when you need a running mate, and that running mate needs to be a bit of a killer too. So
he's not taking you off the bounce. He's not guarding 1 through 5. He can guard. He's shown defensive capabilities.
I'll just say this: if he didn't have Duke next to his name, I'm not so sure he would be in that top 4. Top 5.
Which is funny because I was about to ask, is that what's dinging him actually? Because we just we think of Christian Laettner and is he going to be the next Christian Laettner? And
Duke guys have an amazing history in the NBA. It's
Literally,
the
in the last
Flagg.
in the last no kidding, in the last 10 to 15 years, yes. Prior to that, it was like if you went to Duke, you were a great college player, and then it didn't really work in the NBA.
Put some respect on Trajan Langdon's name. How dare you?
Case in point.
Elton Brand.
Case in point.
Elton Brand was an NBA All-Star. What are you talking about?
He was Rookie of the Year. He was a good NBA player. He had some good moments. I'm not saying he was bad. He was a better collegiate player.
Mike, this is why we have the Deion Sanders conversation off air, so it doesn't live forever someplace.
Hey, the Deion Sanders conversation was worthy content that we may circle our way back to.
Apparently.
How many times was he an All-Star?
2 times.
Thank you. Thank you. And this is why it lives in perpetuity.
And my NBA nostalgia is deeply rooted in the years 2000 to 2006, and he was an All-Star in 2002 and 2006. So this checks out.
There you go.
Yes.
Still an All-Star.
Case in point. Listen, no, he better than a lot of the Dukies from that vintage. They've come a long way in the last 15 years. They've had a lot of guys that have come through. Kyrie Irving in that category, Jason Tatum in that category. They've had a number of guys in recent vintage.
Yeah.
Yes. They've had a number of, exactly, the top 2 rookies this year, both Coop and Konkanippel. So that has shifted. That stereotype has been shed by Duke players in the last 10 to 15 years, but it was a thing for a long time, and it's still hard to not mentally go there a little bit and think, it's just another Christian Laettner.
Yeah, I mean, you could say the same for UNC.
Well, but that's where those two schools have kind of gone in opposite directions.
Yeah.
It used to be you draft the Carolina kid. He may not have had as great a collegiate career,
it's
but he's going to be a big-time pro, and it's gone.
Yeah, like when they had Vince Carter and what they had Anton Jameson, right? They had a good little run there, and then it switched pretty hard.
Like Rashad McCants did not work out in the NBA. Sean May, yes.
Somehow put respect on Tyler Hansbrough.
Ray Felton.
Tyler Hansborough's a great example.
Yeah,
of this.
Hansbrough is the prime example. Ray Felton had an okay.
Ray Felton hung around for a little while.
He played a while, but yeah, I mean, for sure, it changes, and it's going to keep changing. But I think right now we've seen such a great genesis of Duke players come into the league, really going back to Kyrie, and they've made immediate impacts. I mean, I know Zion hasn't panned out the way we thought he would,
but he's still flashed.
When he's healthy and in shape, and he's dynamic still when he's that.
Mm-hmm.
When he's that, and I know we have to use parentheticals there, but still,
the talent was there.
The talent is there in theory. But yeah, I mean that's maybe I should give him points for being a Dookie, but I don't know. From watching him, I wasn't. He didn't have the same magnetism that I saw from a Cooper Flagg last season, where it just felt like everything runs through him.
I mean, it's also just a different college basketball landscape. I have to remind myself, John Calipari is with Arkansas. I mean, Noah Krzyzewski with Duke, that's obviously changed. So, and also, you're talking Duke, UNC. Those programs were traditionally 4-year places. That entire dynamic has shifted in college basketball as well, where there are these kind of let's get the head coach, let's get the one big class coming in. Michigan for this year, for instance, was all transfers. So you don't have the same connection. Again, we're getting onto the college basketball side of things a little bit too much to some degree. But it is fascinating to me because you bring up Acuff, and I'm like, if he's learning from a guy like Calipari, how much does that help as him transition? You know what I mean? If you're going to try and get someone that can contribute right away and change your outlook at the point guard position, that's not a bad place to go. And granted, this is all assuming they even get to this point, which is why I think, and Mike and I have had this conversation a little bit where the NBA draft is concerned. Part of the reason why tanking feels weirder in the NBA is because at least in the NFL, when you tank, you know exactly which pick you're going to end up with. It's like, we should have lost one more game. We would have been X, Y, and Z. The Mavs went through this entire process, and all of it could get thrown in the wash if they end up below their current position, because they don't know exactly where they're going to end up until the ping pong balls are selected.
Yes, but it does matter relative to your starting position.
Yeah.
By winning their final game of the regular season against the Bulls,
No, I agree with that. I absolutely agree with that.
They have gone from 6 to 8, and it dings you not just in the odds, but it dings you relative to your starting position.
I agree with that.
If they were 6, they would have 8% better chance of ending up in the top 4. They would have 2.3% better chance of ending up with the number 1 overall pick.
It's nice knowing this conversation is just for this year, by the way.
That's a good point. This is all going away, likely anyway, if Adam Silver has his way.
But like the prime example was last year. They did not walk in last year as the worst team in the NBA. They lucked into a situation where they were 10th from the bottom and jumped up.
Whether you're 1 through 14, you've got a couple of ping pong balls chance of jumping to 1. But where it matters more is not relative to your number of ping pong balls. Where it does matter there, but less, it's the starting point. They now start at 8 because they won their final game of the regular season, because they got out-tanked by the Chicago Bulls in the final game of the regular season. They go from 6 to 7, tied for 7, lose the coin flip, move to 8.
Right.
And now 8 is your starting point, which means if somebody jumps ahead of you, you drop to 9 instead of 7. If you were 6 and you're obviously you could, if 4 teams jump you could drop to 10. Math would indicate that's almost a 0% possibility.
They'd
if
find a
you're
way.
6 and the likeliest worst case scenario is that you drop to 7, if you're 7 and you're looking at the draft board that Jonah just had up a second
You feel a
ago,
heck of a lot
that's
better.
a very different set of circumstances. Those few picks,
There we go.
it matters.
Yeah.
It could matter. Hey, if they end up top 4, it doesn't matter.
The floor matters more than the ceiling is the point.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. 100%.
So, and again, thankfully, a conversation we will no longer have pending the proposal going through, which I think all of us to some degree are happy is it could at least curb the rampant we don't care about certain games and how they turn out. I mean but that's all over the NBA practically. It was almost distracting from not even necessarily positive play and positive storylines, but just it kept coming up. It was like every week Adam Silver would have another press conference. Got to address the tanking. It's nice on some level we are going to see at least a solution and see if it works.
Yeah. I still go back to the bad teams are still going to play for a draft spot.
Right.
It's not going to change a whole lot because the bad teams are still going to be bad, and they're still going to be playing for
manipulate it a lot less.
Less manipulation, but still can gun for a draft pick. Like look at it this year. If you have a pick in the top 6 to 8, you're still getting a pretty good player. Whereas last year, you're probably not. So it really depends on the draft.
This is where it also matters, though, is now they're saying all 16 teams that are in the lottery will be truly in the lottery. There is no tether to your starting position.
Right.
The way that it is now, where they'll do the lottery for the top 4 teams, and then everybody stacks up below that. If they had kept it that way, then there would still be value to having a bad record. Now, it's purely ping pong ball based, and they're going to draw for all 16 spots in the lottery. You could have the worst record in the NBA and pick 16th. Well, that's not entirely true. They did
There's
set
a floor of 12.
There's a floor of 12 for those teams. But still,
12th is still
imagine
awful.
if you have the worst record in the NBA. You spend all season long thinking, we're not going to be able to compete. We're going to have a bad record. We're going to try and have the 4th best record, but you miss. And then you pick 12th.
I feel bad for the small market teams because they struggle to attract the big free agents. Or big trades in general, like the Sacramentos or the
Charlotte,
This
New Orleans.
This market couldn't attract
historically
a free agent until
struggled,
Klay Thompson,
which is crazy because it's Dallas. It's not. I mean, it's not Milwaukee. No offense to Milwaukee.
I don't think that it was
swinging on Milwaukee and
market-based.
Minnesota this week.
Shots fired in Milwaukee.
catching
Jeez
strays.
Louise.
They got the safari hat flap with the flaps on it. Do you even know what I'm talking about? What are you laughing about?
Just you're talking about like the really heavy like woolen knit hats, right? That I've got like the ear muffs and everything.
No, I'm making a deep cut joke related to I Think You Should Leave. You've seen the show I Think You Should Leave?
I have not.
All right, then never mind. That's going to go over your head. Well,
sorry.
I'll tell you when you're older. No, but
seriously, ask the Wizards. They were the number 1 overall odds last year, right? And they ended up 6th.
They couldn't have ended up
These
worse
small
than
market
fifth.
teams
I
are
couldn't
going
try to
to
remember.
struggle.
But
They're going to struggle to attract the big stars.
Right.
And big stars help you win games. And so I could see a handful of these smaller market teams just living in purgatory of maybe not making the playoffs, but not also getting a top pick to get better. So
Jazz, Wizards, and Hornets, by the way, last year. So, So Wizards ended up 6th, and it was, I can't remember if it was tied, but those were the top 3. Either way, Wizards were 6th, Jazz were 5th, and the Hornets were 4th. So the top 3 odds didn't even get the top 3 picks last year.
were they all tied for? Because you can't drop more than 4 spots from your original starting position. Because you can't have more than 4 teams jump you. This is this year's.
Yeah,
we're talking about last year's PLG.
Either way, again, this is a weird tangent to go on. So, but they had the Jazz at number 1, the Wizards at number 2, and the Hornets at number 3, all at 14%.
Okay. Yes. 1 through 4. These 1 through 3 or 1 through 4 currently all get 14%. But like this year, Washington, if you pull back up PLG, that graphic with this year's lottery standings, Washington is
Indiana
1,
and Brooklyn.
Indiana's 2, Brooklyn is 3. They all have 14% chance at the number 1 pick, but Washington with the worst record is tethered to that 1 spot. So even if 4 teams jump up from outside of the top 4 to get those top 4 spots, Washington can't go any lower than 5. Indiana can't go any lower than 6, Brooklyn 7,
I think
et cetera,
the point
et
I
cetera.
was trying to make, though, it's like those teams have not gotten the lottery drop. Like, the Hornets ended up picking Knipple 4th, and they really got some incredible value with that pick. But my point being is, this is the problem with the lottery, in a nutshell, is the teams that probably need it the most are not guaranteed to get the help from the draft that they otherwise would if this was the NFL, if this was the NHL. That's the point. It's like, it is a lottery for a reason. Dallas jumped the line.
What happens is you get an overcorrection.
Right.
You're trying to eliminate tanking, but by doing so, you also make it harder for the bad teams to get better, which seems to be what the league has been trying to do, at least with the aprons and all this other stuff. So I don't know. It seems like they had to do something, and this was, I don't know, an option. I'm not saying it's necessarily a good option, but they didn't really. It's not like there's a whole lot of ways they could go about it. So again, I like that they're doing it on a trial run. I honestly probably would have done it for 2 years, not 3, but whatever. But at least we're going to get to see what it looks like. And assuming the Mavs don't trade for a first-round pick in 27, 28, 29, we don't have to worry about it. We get to just watch all the other teams, twist around, and we get to just watch Cooper Flagg ball out and hopefully have to avoid all that discussion.
What's that meme gif with the guy with the lawn chair? And just sit down and watch. That's kind of what it is.
Or we end up in a circumstance where Cooper Flagg and the Mavs, let's say they miss the playoffs in a couple of years. Maybe someone gets hurt and they miss the playoffs. They enter the draft lottery and they land a top 3 pick or a top 4 pick.
Yeah.
Out of nowhere. Let's say they were the 16th team. So, I don't know. You could see some teams that are loaded get more
loaded, yeah.
Which I don't know if it's going to necessarily help what the NBA is trying to do.
How long ago did Cooper Flagg wrap his press conference?
Have we been waxing poetic the whole time?
3:45 this afternoon.
This
give us
keeping track. We've been live for like over an hour.
Yeah.
This is what happens in our department.
Give us no commercial breaks. Gets real dangerous around here.
No commercial breaks, no scripts, no VO, no.
Well, you let me pull up the draft prospects, and I knew we were cooked from there.
And poof, off we go.
There it goes.
Thank you for joining us for this special edition of the Ultimate Dallas Sports Show. We will be back here to talk about more of this and an awful lot more tomorrow at noon, 12 to 1 weekdays. Our brand new venture here at WFAA, the Ultimate Dallas Sports Show. We hope you'll join us then.